I'm happy to announce that I have partnered with a company called BetUs.com, where basically you can place bets and all that good stuff. And as you can see here, you go to this particular landing page here, and if you use my promo code TKT for the Klown Times, you'll get 125% of the sign-up bonus. As you see there as well, and you can, again, use promo code TKT. You get 125% sign-up bonus, and you can win up to you can bet up to $2,500 by clicking this Join Now button right here. So you can see at the bottom, it's bet on the go. You can bet anywhere, anytime on your mobile device. Get your fast payouts, get paid immediately every time, and live betting, which means you can bet during the game, early and best lines. So remember, folks, go to betus.com where the game begins. Welcome to tonight's pre-Super Bowl week edition of the Klown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. And to my left is the way Nash. Please check him out on the Yards. It's HBCU Sports, reps for all things HBCU Sports. You see the website behind him on the backdrop, the Yard, HBCU.com. Also check him out on Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. And in addition to that, if he's not busy enough, check out his great work on HeroSports.com. You like the West Stadium, man. HeroSports.com, where he writes about all things FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCU sports. As for me here, please check me on my website. This is it right here, the Klown Times. That's my sports blog, which I have yet to post a Super Bowl preview, which I do that before Friday. I promise. I really promise. I've been slacking. I know. But anyway, check me out at www.theklowntimes.net. You check me out, on Facebook as well, on your laptop, desktop, smartphone, wherever you are, wherever it may be. Just type that in. You'll find us there acting the fool as well. And last but not least, well, two things. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and share. Sharing is caring. We picked up a few more subscribers this week, so please continue to show the love. Please continue to spread the love. And feel free, again, if you don't like what we're saying, say so. We'll probably be snarky and petty in return, but hey, we love the back and forth. As we have a funny feeling, we're going to get a lot of comments after this video pertains to one Jackson State University, but I'll just tease a little bit. We may have to get some feedback on that. But anyway, so do that. And also, speaking of which, get the merch.
Get the merch.
CafePress.com, search for the Klown Times Sports. You find hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, mouse pads, just and so on and so forth. I got some baby ones on there too, believe it or not. If you don't believe me, go search for it. Anyway, speaking of which, I'll post that link as well as Dwayne's links to his websites in the description, as I always do when I upload this to YouTube. So you'll find all that there as well. Well, we have a Super Bowl this weekend.
Yes,
right?
we do.
We got Upstart. It's almost called Upstart Bowl because you have a 4 seed in Cincinnati from the AFC going up against the 3 seed in the NFC and the Los Angeles Rams. So if you were basically, I mean, it's one of the most beautiful things about the NFL playoffs. It's rarely chalk. Chalk rarely prevails. I mean, rarely prevails.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild card winners, Super winners who are wild cards. Green Bay from 2010, my Pittsburgh Steelers from 2005, Oakland from 1980. Come on down as examples. You know, in the year that Pittsburgh beat Arizona, I think Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, was also a 4 seed.
Yeah, they were most definitely a wild card team that year, and they did host that wild card game.
That's correct. I do remember that quite well. So, I mean, it's a trip, man. The NFL play, especially this year's playoffs, with all these walk-off field goals, touchdowns, overtime wins, victories going down to the wire. You couldn't ask for anything better.
No, you couldn't, right? There were you had the one blowout in
the wild card round with the Rams, right, against the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Rams in Arizona. Yeah, you had that one. But other than that, every other game was very competitive.
Right.
And then, of course, we had the infamous walk-off weekend where everybody's game came down to the final
Divisional
field goal
round.
at the verdict. Yeah, the divisional round.
Especially the divisional round, especially. I mean, all 4 games in and out of walk-offs or overtime, which essentially is a walk-off, right?
Yeah.
So all 4 games ended in walk-offs, right? The Bengals upsetting the Titans, despite Joe Burrow, more on him in a moment, getting set 9 times, 9 as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 times, right?
Yeah.
Who else?
Or as Pootie Tang would say, many times tannies.
Many times. I love Pootie Tang. But anyway, it's on YouTube videos, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the 49ers upsetting the Packers on the again, walk-off field goal. And you know, what's the other NFC game that was played that weekend? Oh yeah, the Rams.
Oh yeah, the Rams beat the Bucks.
Which was talk about peaks and valleys. The Rams start off huge, and then the Tampa Bay run off what was it 24 extra points to tie the game at 27.
Yeah,
thanks in part to the Rams practically just giving the game to them with turnovers and blunders, and then only have Matthew Stafford, which was a busted coverage by the Buccaneers in the zero blitz, right? Because one hesitated and just didn't get there, and just somehow ended up having Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown winning Cooper Kupp, probably the offensive player of the year, Cooper Kupp, pouring down the seams against the strong safety. Yeah. That's like, as Chuck would say, that's barbecue chicken all day.
That's barbecue chicken all
barbecue
day.
Chicken. Credit to Stafford.
In honor of LA, you might even want to call that Korean barbecue chicken.
There you go. Which is delicious, by the way. Don't sleep on Korean chicken barbecue. But anyway, but that ended it with a field goal to end the game. We were like, whoa. And then, of course, the biggest that weekend, Kansas City, Buffalo.
Wow. Yes.
I mean, gosh, they're still scoring at each other right now. But I would say this. I think Buffalo's coaches, the head coach especially, probably ruled the day that they did not script kick it to Kansas City to burn off some time off the clock. Even though most offenses, 13 seconds is not enough.
13 seconds is rarely enough for a lot of offenses, right?
Right.
With the exception of, as we know now, an offense led by Patrick Mahomes. And I still don't trust 13 seconds because it was 13 seconds during the regular season, or was it less than that when Green Bay beat San Fran in California during the regular season, right?
2 quarterbacks that could do it, maybe 3. Mahomes, obviously.
Most definitely.
Aaron Rodgers, most definitely, because
most definitely.
And Tom Brady.
Season.
And Tom Brady.
Yeah. And Tom Brady. Yeah. Whenever I see, that's why when the Rams were up 27-3 against the Bucks, I was on the phone with my boy and I said, yo, 27-3, we kind of seen this movie before.
Right.
I hope the Rams don't get too excited, because if they do, we might end up having a New England Atlanta situation all over again, and it almost happened.
Right.
It almost happened. So yeah, those are the 3 guys right now. If you just say, hey, I got 20 seconds on the clock, maybe a timeout, maybe not, drive down to get us in field goal range, who will I take? It most definitely will be one of those 3. Easily.
Exactly.
Easily.
So that's great. But anywho, so that's what that is. So it's been a great playoffs. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's been a great playoffs. Like capped with obviously the championship round. Cincinnati again walking off overtime, which actually they should have won in regulation. Because I almost called Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes, who was scrambling, running backwards, and when that dude came on that 1-man blitz, like when Bill Kansas City was about to score a touchdown, or at least driving to score a touchdown, when that one dude who was spying on Mahomes came, just shot through the middle. When he saw that no one was open, realized that he was holding the ball too long. That was a damn good play by that linebacker. Because remember, Cincinnati rushed 3.
Yeah.
put everybody else in the end zone, which was smart.
Mhm.
Cloud the end zone. I mean, they were on what, the 8-yard line or some shit like that. No one, it's not enough room. You got 8 cats in coverage.
Mhm.
Well, counting the spy linebacker to keep an eye on Mahomes, he couldn't go in there with the football, which actually, normally going zone against Kansas City is like a death knell because
it's most definitely
because he can pick you apart. Like they were,
yes.
but they went to a zone in the second half. That shut Kansas City down for the most part, especially in that situation. So basically, going back to that play, when the spy stood there, the linebacker, and noticed that Patrick Mahomes was holding up the ball more than 3 seconds, he made a smart play and blitzed him.
Yeah.
And made him run backwards.
Yeah. And ended up getting that sack.
And that fumble. He fumbled, and it wasn't for a lineman being Johnny on the spot.
The
game would have ended
the
right
recovery.
There. Yeah. But it's interesting. So when watching them kick that field goal, Evan McPherson kicked that field goal to win it, and seeing my wife jump for joy, and like I mentioned last week with Andre, but seeing men on social media, Bengals Twitter is great. They're footloose and fancy. They've been footloose and fancy free for the last 5 or 6 weeks, man. But to see grown men cry, it was something. Because keep in mind, like we said last week, the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl, we weren't adults. We were high school students. Some of us were middle school.
Yeah, middle school, 1988, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy, man. I was a sophomore in high school, so that was a long time ago, right? And
and I was in the 8th grade. So that was a long time ago.
So to see those same guys now, around our age, seeing it happen now again after those years and then those lean years in the 90s and
those super lean years.
Yes, and most of the 2000s, except for maybe 7 or 8 seasons with Marvin Lewis having the
Marvin Lewis years,
but not winning the playoff game. So it was something to see, and also to see in the second game was to see the Rams come from behind to beat their arch rival 49ers. Even though that kid dropped the interception, which still don't know how he dropped the interception. That Matthew Stafford just punted to it. Essentially, it was a punt. Lost it to him. He's right there in center field. That was ball game. I was like, now watch the Rams score for this. Albeit it was a field goal to tie it. But still, if San Fran is up 3 at the moment, if they go down again and score, it would have been over.
His eyes got too big, man. He got too excited. He saw a softball, thought it was going to be an easy. You know what? I don't want to speak on what he probably thought it was. Let's just say that, you know what? He didn't make the play, unfortunately.
Right.
And because of it, that might be one of the reasons why that they're not in LA right now.
Oh, it's a big reason why they're not in LA. I can tell you that right now. Speaking of the woman getting too big, I'm looking on TikTok. There's a guy who plays a fake coach's tape. It's a brother. You probably know what I'm talking about. His name is Brendan Clinton. He goes by Mr. Go 30 on TikTok. He's notorious for like every big game, every playoff game, every college game, whatever. He's like, just run the tape back, and he has this fictitious players underneath him, like Collins and Connor and Davis. He comes around on Davis real hard, right? It's just hilarious. I want you and the listeners, viewers, to check out Mr. Go 30 on TikTok, because when you mentioned that the moment got to bid for that young man, I think his last name was Tart.
Okay.
San Francisco, he dropped the interception. We're talking about the moment got too big. That's what made me think about this dude on Twitter. Again, and his tagline is the moment got too big, you pissed down your leg. I'm not really an athlete. But I'll let you check it out though. But it's Mr. Go 30 on TikTok. He's funny as hell. Anyway, I thought I'd shout him out. Anywho, so all those games going on to the wire. You now have Cincinnati LA Rams on paper, people are thinking ass whooping. But I caution people to say for this, man. People thought Cincinnati, even though they beat Kansas City early in the regular season, clinched the AFC North, albeit at home, coming from 14 points down twice in the process. Yeah. People thought Kansas City was going to wax that ass. Hey,
me included.
You know what? And watching the first half, I was like, I think, oh shit, Kansas City's going to run these motherfuckers out of Arrowhead. I mean, seriously, I thought they were going to run them out of Arrowhead. But
they were on the verge of doing so. And that final, I think we may have touched on it a little bit last week. Yeah, that final possession filled with arrogance.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't think twice about that play, but I just thought it was points lost. But at that point in time, you're already up 21-10. You get the ball back.
Yep.
And the way that offense looked, I just thought they would get the ball back, drive downfield, score again.
And be game over. Hell, if they would have scored a touchdown, game over.
Yeah.
28-10 going to half when Cincinnati had no answer on defense for them.
None whatsoever.
As soon as I saw them get that stop, when they ran, and when they went inexplicably to Tyreek Hill with two Bengals conversion on, well, Eli Apple got him, right? And finished off by the linebacker. With no timeouts, that's points lost. I was like, kick the field goal. I'm screaming at the TV, kick the field goal.
Kick the field goal, yeah. You're talking about the final play of the first half, right?
Yes.
It almost looked as if Tyreek gave up on the end of that play. Because that tackle, in my opinion, was an arm tackle, a one-arm tackle by Eli. And it looked like he wasn't even attempting to make, he was looking to make the tackle, but it wasn't like he was making a hearty effort in my eyes, at least. Yeah. But I'm thinking, why is Tyreek trying to outrun this guy? Yeah. Run over this dude. You're at the one.
Yeah.
And you may not, the laws of physics will carry you at least closer than what you were.
And the problem is that he didn't get close to the 1 yard line. He tried to get cute.
He tried to get real cute with it.
He tried to get cute. And so Eli got him. And then the linebacker came over and finished him off.
Yeah.
And he didn't try to get out of bounds. I'm like, dude, get out of bounds. You have no timeouts. You're at point blank field goal range at that point. Get some points. Get some points.
He sat on the turf with the ball tucked in his arms, looking in the air like, what? Yo, you.
No timeouts. Patrick Mahomes tried to call time, and he'd be like, shit, we don't have timeouts.
We don't have no more.
So, yeah, as soon as we saw that play, I'm like, babe, I was like, telling my wife, I'm like, you know what? As outplayed as Cincinnati has been, they're only down by 11.
By 11, yeah.
They're only down by 11. They took Kansas City's best shot, and they're only down by 11.
All because of arrogance.
Yeah, so.
All because of arrogance.
Again, we said this, I think we may have said this last week, but boys and girls, let there be a LST. Never, especially on the professional level, but never, ever, ever, ever underestimate your opponent.
To quote the great Chris Webber, run through the tape.
Yep. Remember that quote.
And life always run through the tape.
Yeah.
And that was an instance where the Chiefs did not run through the tape. Oh my God. And because of it, they're at the crib right now. And we're the what we thought of Andy Reid doing his tenure in Philadelphia as a guy who couldn't get out of the championship Sunday is starting to rear its ugly head again.
Right.
Especially in a situation where they were perennial favorites.
Right.
And they were up going into halftime in double digits and was getting the ball. But enough about these Chiefs. They're not in LA right now.
That's
it's the
correct.
Bengals, it's the Rams.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and give these dudes their flowers.
Let's talk about
it. And to your point, you talked about how the Bengals were underdogs against the Chiefs. They're coming in, according to Vegas, as underdogs to the Rams as well. I think the current spread is 4 points right now.
Yeah, 4.5, yeah.
But my thing is this, right? We discussed it last night, Season Sports.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about who had the favorable matchups when you're talking about offensive pass games, offensive run games, special teams, coaching, or whatever. And in most of the categories, I said that the Rams had the advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing, and I know this is something Dre will most definitely correct me on, is that it's not necessarily who has the advantage. It's who's capable of making a big play when you need them to.
Right.
And in essence, I kind of referred to that as being, as much as I was hesitant to do so, I referred to it as being an intangible.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it's an intangible. And the only reason why I labeled it as an intangible of the Cincinnati Bengals is because it's something that we've seen from them throughout the entire playoffs.
Yep.
You know, them getting a slight test in their first playoff game in 31 years at the crib, where, you know, it seemed like it may have been too big for them against the Raiders, but they were capable of holding on to beat them.
Yeah. That was good, that game, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, they go to Nashville, and people kind of question them and their validity, especially with the return of Derrick Henry. And not only that, Joey B gets sacked 9 times.
9 times, bro.
And they still win the game. Man, if you don't get out of here, and then they go to Kansas City, they're down at one point 21-3. They knock it down to 11, and KC fails to put their foot on their neck at the end of the first half. And what do? 43-yard passes to Samaje Perine, the 2-point conversion.
Yes, that was a beautiful screenplay, by the way.
Yeah. So, you know, they had guys step up in situations where, you know, they needed them to, even though they didn't do so necessarily throughout the entire season. Right. And it's something that I'm not expecting to not happen again this Sunday. You know, so it's not about...
The Rams' D-line is nasty.
Their D-line is nasty, and we already know that the Bengals' O-line has been nasty, but not nasty in the negative way.
Right. They're offensively offensive, yeah.
Yeah, they're offensively offensive. But the funny part is the fact that they've been capable of withstanding all of the tests that they had to deal with so far this season to make it to this point, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we talked about the Chiefs, and not necessarily them having a great defense, but they do have the ability to rush a passer. Mm-hmm. But Joe Burrow was capable of getting out and making plays. The Tennessee Titans, another defense which was very staunch, was staunch this entire season, and the main reason why they were the number 1 seed this year, and them coming up short, even though they got the 9 sacks. So it's what the Bengals are capable of withstanding, and them not making too many mistakes. And they get big plays from guys we don't expect at key times. And that would be the key to the Bengals winning, even though I'm not necessarily picking them to win. Right. Those are the keys to them winning, because it's what they've used before in the past. Why not use it again?
The game, to me, is going to be a master class of trench play. Okay. Offensive, defensive line. And that could be extrapolated to both the Rams and the Bengals' favor. Let me explain. Okay. The Rams have a vastly better offensive line than the Bengals. Like, we know that. Mm-hmm. I think the Bengals have a very underrated front seven on defense that can get after you. And I think what's going to boil down to is which defensive front will show up. Uh-huh. Who shows up the best? Because people assume it's going to be a wash. Well, not a wash, but a huge advantage for the Rams, and very well may be, because the Bengals, we already talked about, offensive line is terrible. But we see how resilient this Bengals team is offensively. They have hella weapons. Yeah. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, both young, extremely young and productive. When they took away Chase, Kansas City did in the AFC Championship game, Higgins stepped up in a huge way. Yeah. He was that dude, make a big catch at the big catch. Then with all of that, you have Tyler Boyd in the slot.
Exactly.
You got Joe Mixon toting the rock in the backfield.
You got Joe Mixon, yes.
And you got CJ, I probably can't pronounce his last name, but he's a damn good security blanket. He's been there through the highs and lows.
I don't think CJ will be playing this weekend though, because remember he suffered
a sprain, MCL sprain,
the MCL sprain in the championship game. So I don't know if he's necessarily going to be back for Sunday.
He's working his ass off to do it, bro, because he's like, look, I can't sit this out. And God bless him. And God bless him for trying. Because again, he's seen the high and the lows and the mini lows. And he's only 30 years old. He's like the older guy, one of the older guys was offensive weapons, right? But the thing is, he and Boyd are. But it's at least it's an MCL, not an ACL, right?
Yeah.
ACLs, that's the stability. You can't cut on a sprained ACL. I don't give a damn who you are. But the thing is, and I know the Rams tight end, he also has a sprained MCL. He may keep him out.
Yeah, I also heard that as well.
So we'll see what happens there. But I say all to say this: Cincinnati has weapons. And of course, Joe Burrow is on his second year. I love this kid's swagger. I love his confidence. I love his moxie. I love that he's so fucking tough. Sat 9 times against the probably one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Titans, and he still didn't fold. Still made a
9
big
times,
pass.
got up 10.
Yes. Thank you. And still made that big pass to Jamar Chase to win the ball game, to set up the winning field goal against the Titans. And I think he's not going to be scared of the moment. I mean, he only played at LSU and won the national title in the Heisman. Only beat down Clemson in the national championship. And I know that's college, but still that's high stakes, high pressure situation. Exactly. He's been there. So, and that ultimate wild card to me is Matt Stafford. He's played well, but there were times where he would get the ball back to the other team because he's a gunslinger at heart, man. And he gave almost gave two balls back to the 49ers, like early on.
See, that's the thing, though. Almost. So if you look at his stats, he actually kept himself respectfully clean in terms of his stat numbers. And in comparison to all the other quarterbacks that made it to the playoffs this year, he was ranked second in passing yards with a little bit over 900, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. 4 of those touchdowns, of course, going to Cooper Kupp. But for him to come out of the 3 rounds of the playoffs with 1 interception speaks volumes, right? But the thing is, will we ever have an opportunity to get to see old Matthew Stafford? The only difference is, of course, he has a whole lot more help around him there in LA than he did in Detroit. Yeah. And my question is whether or not the Bengals defense is going to be capable of pressuring him enough to force him to make those mistakes. And even though that defense, we don't necessarily, a lot of people outside of the Cincinnati surrounding area may not know everyone on this defense. They may not have a lot of stars on that D. Right. Let's not get it twisted. That defense is very capable of doing so. We've seen them already cause fits so far in the playoffs.
They're full of second and third rounders who could actually play, led by that free agent signing Hendrickson from New Orleans. That was a big signing. Yeah.
And Hendrickson, I think, is leading the team in sacks.
I think you're correct.
In the playoffs, it's either Hendrickson or let me see if I can get it real quick. Are you going to be nice to me? You're going to take your time. Actually, you're being a little dirty with me right now. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for here. It's Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard is actually
little old Hubbard. Okay.
Yeah, he's actually leading the team in sacks during the postseason. But Hendrickson is right behind him with a half a sack. So between the two of them, you got 5.5 sacks. And then of course BJ Hill with his 1.5 and that interception, that key interception against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. Like I said, this defense can become opportunistic in spots, but the thing is, a lot of times those spots are when they most need them. So I don't need you to be dominant the entire game. Be dominant when I need you to be, And again, this game could be within reach for these Bengals, man. It's highly possible.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not putting anything past these cats, man. I've seen them blow up my Steelers twice. I've seen them blow out the Ravens twice. I've seen them beat the Chiefs twice. Once in the regular season, once in the postseason at their place. Yeah. They're hella capable.
Yeah.
They're very capable. I'm not sleeping on them. So to me, it's going to come down, but I think gotta be realistic here. I'm picking the score.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be not too old school, but I think it's going to be in the mid to low scoring range. I think both this is going to show up. I think that it's going to take a big play or two by whoever quarterback, whether it be Burrow or Stafford. But in the end, I have Matthew Stafford and the Rams winning 21-17 over a hard-nosed, like prime Bengals team, and what could go down as one of the better competitive Super Bowls in recent history. So I got 21-7 Rams over Bengals.
21-7?
21-17. 21-17.
Okay.
I'm sorry. 21-17.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So you're going with the under.
Yeah.
Because the over-under is set at 40. I just looked at it. Is it 48.5?
I don't think it'll be high scoring. I don't think it'll be high scoring.
Yeah, the over-under is 48.5.
Yeah, that's too many points. That's too many damn points.
Because I have it at 44.
Okay.
With 24-20.
Okay.
Win for the LA Rams. My concern is, and it's something that they've had to deal with all playoffs long, is that they haven't put up a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
As talented as that offense has been throughout the regular season, they haven't put up a lot of touchdowns during the postseason. But you know what they have done? Whenever they've got close enough to kick those field goals, they walked away with 3.
Yeah.
It was rare that they walked away with none when they were down there within scoring range. So as long as they can get close enough to put up points, it's about outscoring your opponent. I don't care how you do it. If it's a bunch of field goals and a couple of safeties, as long as you got more than your opponent, you win. Yeah. So that'll be the thing to keep an eye out on too, is how many touchdowns will be scored by the Bengals, especially by that offense. And that's something that I'm going to be intrigued to see. Yeah,
so just give a proper shout out to Trey Hendrickson. He finished the year with regular season with 14 sacks.
Wow. See, I didn't realize. See, again, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not necessarily keeping an eye out on them. Who knew, right?
Who knew, right? Who knew, right? So you had a 24-20 Rams, right, over the Bengals? Yeah,
I have a 24-20 Rams. I know Dre going to kill me, and I know if he's listening right now, he's most definitely going to let us know about this if the Bengals are capable of walking away with a win on Sunday.
You know who they nation is going to be so insufferable if they end up pulling this off? And I live here, obviously. I mean, God, I mean, and like I said, Bengals Twitter has been lit the last 3 weeks, period.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, there'll be more grown men outside on the street crying, no matter how cold it is. I think on Sunday it's supposed to be in the 30s.
Okay.
And the lowest will be in the teens. So you're gonna be people freezing their ass off outside crying like babies when this happens. But if this were to happen.
If it happens,
I think it's gonna be very competitive. Like I said earlier, I think it's gonna be very competitive. And I can't wait. I cannot wait. I just can't wait for it. So we'll see what happens there. Just stay in the NFL right quick.
Well, before we move on,
yes,
to your point, according to one of my favorite websites to look at as it pertains to NFL depth charts, ourlads.com. Don't know if you want them or not.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Ourlads, OURLADS,
ourlads.com.
Okay. They always have the most up-to-date depth chart, and they actually have the dates on there. So according to Ourlads, as of the 8th, which was yesterday at 8:01 p.m., they actually have CJ Uzomah as the starting tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. So it looks like he will be playing.
He's going to give it a go. Okay, yeah.
He's going to give it a go.
because he's kept saying throughout the last couple of weeks, he's like, I'm not sitting this out. I'm gonna do whatever I can. He's apparently been working his butt off because he was being interviewed on NFL radio, Sirius XM earlier this week. And he's like, it's no way I'm not playing. Because he's talking about he's been staying at the facilities, getting treatment around the clock and rehabbing. He's not, he said he was serious. He's not missing it for the world, his first Super Bowl. And, you know, it's not a guarantee that you get back there.
True. Very true. So yeah, whenever you get an opportunity to play and whenever don't act like I'm not going to go all out. This opportunity will come back. It might not.
Right.
You might want to leave it out on the field as much as you possibly can.
Right.
And do whatever you can to make sure that your team gets a dub. So yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. But moving to the coaching ranks, you know, we all know what's going on with Brian Flores, his loss against the NFL. Well, at that point, the Houston job, the Miami Dolphins job, we obviously got fired from. We got fired from. And the Saints job was still open. Jobs were still open. Okay, the Saints went with Dennis Allen, who was previously their defensive coordinator, so that kind of made sense. Continuity. He was Sean Payton's right-hand man. I don't have a problem with that. I have no beef with that whatsoever. So we're not going to talk about that. But two weird moves. The other two moves were pretty weird. Out of nowhere, Miami Dolphins hired a dude named Mike McDaniel. Who's Mike McDaniel, you might ask? He was the only one year offensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers, who, let's face it, he works with Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, and Mike Shanahan too, because he consults his son. That you're probably not going to call plays under any Shanahan, right? You're probably not going to call any plays. I don't think when the Shanahans were in Washington, did Kyle call the plays under Mike? I think Mike called the plays, didn't he?
It might be a little bit of both. It might have been a little bit of both. Well, Mike may have been, and I know a Washington fan will most definitely correct me. Mike may have been more of the running back coordinator, with Kyle being the passing game coordinator.
Gotcha.
But you know, Kevin was also here in DC as well. Is it Kevin? No, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Kevin O'Connell. Mike McDonald was also here in DC as an assistant under Kyle as well. Okay. So they know each other very well. They're both very familiar with that Shanahan style of coaching. Being now, of course, he's not his son, right? But Mike has spent a lot of time in that Shanahan tree, and he is extremely knowledgeable about that style of play and that style of coaching, almost as much as Kyle is. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what happens. I'm looking, if I am a Dolphins fan right now, I might be a little bit excited, only because I would anticipate for Mike to come in and try to treat Tua like a sensible Robert Griffin. If you can go ahead and have him do bootleg plays where he comes out of the pocket, makes plays, passing the ball outside of the pocket, and taking just about any running back from whatever round you draft him from, it don't matter, and have this Bama be 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, that's a Shanahan trait. Yeah,
that's a Shanahan trait. Yeah. And that's something that he knows extremely well. The thing is will he be able to put them in that type of situation to attempt to be successful within that conference? I don't know if they necessarily be good enough to win the division, because the Buffalo Bills are looking pretty stout right now, and it looks like the New England Patriots just might be back. Yeah. But the thing is, will they be capable enough of competing in that division and in that conference to continue to compete for a playoff spot? But based upon what I've seen, if he knows what I think he knows, he might be able to come in and have that team be 9-8 again, just like the head coach they had under them that they unceremoniously fired.
What a crap show. But I'll say this about Mike McDaniel. what I really like. I don't know if you heard about this. During one of his interviews, I don't know if it was with the Dolphins
I heard
or whatever,
about that.
when a dude named Mike Jones was interviewing him, he was like, Mike Jones.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
The funny thing is, of course, Mike, who currently works with the USA Today, used to be here in well, I mean, he's still technically in DC because USA Today's office is here. But he used to be with the Washington Post and was a beat writer for the Washington football team. And of course, oddly enough, when he would make an appearance on one of my favorite sports radio shows, they would always play Mike Jones as his entrance music. So it's something that he's
back then. You didn't want me, now you're all on me.
No, they would play the other one. You can't run all day long. Yeah. So they would play that one. Yeah.
Mike Jones.
But yeah, he did have that thing. The boy is what, in his mid-30s. 38
years old. He's 38 years old.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, what am I doing in my life that I'm not an NFL head coach? I played enough bad, and I should know something.
Well, you know what though? I didn't know the brother. I guess he's a brother. He identifies as multiracial.
He identifies as multiracial.
Yeah. To me, I said on my vlog earlier this week, man, I said that's a face-ass term of saying I'm half black.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. So I mean, just seeing him, it's like his background. But anyway, I hope it works out for Miami. But what really got me was what Houston did. Now, I didn't know that Lovie Smith was already on the staff.
I forgot about that too.
I did not know that. And Pep Hamilton too. I didn't know they were on the staff down there.
That's right. Pep was the OC down there.
Yeah. So, y'all, I mean, this came on the heels after it was rumored that the Texans were moving in on Josh McCown. The same Josh McCown who played for 50-11 teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
And also,
Washington. Yeah.
And also, not only did not have any head coach experience at the pro level, in high school, he was not even coaching the head coach of the high school's football team. His son's high school football team. He's a quarterback coach.
Yeah.
You're gonna hire that Bama to run an NFL franchise? You know what I think what happened?
What's that?
And I heard this from Shannon Sharp on Undisputed, but I think a lot of it's true. I think someone in the NFL got to Houston and said, "You can't do this. You cannot do this because you got this one brother sitting on a lawsuit waiting for y'all to fuck up and bring in a white dude with no head coach experience on any level.
On any level.
To run to be the first y'all's franchise. Come on, son. Hey, put your thing in. Come on, son. It's upside down. Come on. Come on, son. I mean, that's what I think Roger Goodell did.
He might have some like I said, he might got some football experience.
Yeah, I look conspiracy theories. Yeah.
No, it could very well be true. It could very well be true because you know what? This is a league-wide investigation.
Right. And
yeah, somebody probably pulled their coattails. It's like, dude, we trying to save face around here.
Right.
And not only a team that that Flores is supposed to be a candidate for is looking to hire a white guy with no experience
on any level.
On any level.
On any level.
How is that supposed to help us out here with this case? We need this case. We can't have you have it bringing out Exhibit A for him to be like, ta-da, this is what I'm talking about. You got to do something better than this. And thankfully for them, they had Lovie Smith in their corner because reports that came out that, you know, that Brian Flores all of a sudden became the lead candidate, but the only reason why they didn't hire him is because of the fact that he had the pending case against the league. So they ended up going the opposite direction.
Let me ask you this. Part of me thinks that Houston just said that just to save face. But
probably.
But what if Brian Flores never brings this lawsuit to life? Would he be the next coach in the Houston Texans right now? I mean, he's a Belichick guy, and they got a bunch of Belichick dudes running the organization, the front office. So do you think that Brian Flores would have been the next head coach of the Houston Texans if he didn't bring that lawsuit out?
It's possible. It is highly possible, right?
Yeah.
He does kind of fit that mold of former defensive coordinator, and coming into to Houston and being the head coach. Now, I could be wrong. I'm going to say just about every one of their head coaches was probably a defensive coordinator at some point in time. I'm about to check that out to see and make sure that that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seemed like something that's within their wheelhouse. It's not necessarily impossible that wouldn't have been the case. But based upon what we've seen this dude do in Miami and go from losing 8 straight to winning 8 straight, was a damn good feat, and I still say he shouldn't have been fired from Miami in the first place. But yeah, he very easily should have gotten that job in Houston. But again, I understand, as much as I don't like it, why he didn't.
Yeah. You know what I think is going to happen?
What's that?
I think it's going to be a David Culley situation all over again.
You think so?
I think that well, first of all, guess who was hired on to Lovie Smith's staff? Josh McCown as a quarterbacks coach.
Was he?
Was he?
Wow.
He was. And I don't think Lovie made the hire. I think they brought him on. They being the general manager and whoever, and Esterby, who's that religious dude who turned czar in the organization, in the Texas organization. So here's what I think is going to happen. Again, Houston is devoid of talent. Okay. So they're probably going to have a similar season as they did this past season. Win 4 or 5 games at the most. They'll probably play hard because a lot of the players play hard in the color last year. Then, you know what? Houston would probably just try to justify giving the job to McCown after a year, or maybe 2 years. I'll give it 2 years. Tops. Saying that he now has coaching experience, albeit as a quarterbacks coach.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that's going to happen. And we've seen this before. Remember when Bill O'Brien was there ruining the organization? His defensive coordinator was Romeo Crennel. He demoted Crennel and elevated Mike Vrabel from linebackers coach to the defensive coordinator position. And guess who got the job in Tennessee the following year? Mike Vrabel, because he has coordinator experience. And guess who they elevated back to fill his position? Romeo Crennel.
Yeah. But you know what? So, well, I guess I was wrong. It looks as though that, with the exception of Dom Capers, all of their head coaches there in Houston have offensive experience with Bill O'Brien, with Gary Kubiak, and Culley. Yeah, so all of those guys have offensive experiences. So I am wrong. There it is. I'm not a liar, but I'm wrong. And I caught myself.
That nigga lying. Lying ass nigga. No, I'm sorry, lying ass nigga. That's right, lying ass nigga. Okay.
That dude gonna be mad when I start making t-shirts.
Yeah. You should. And wear it on here too. I put a picture on YouTube. Shout out to that commenter. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting going forward with look, I'll say this one last thing about the hires before we move on to the NBA. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
I know Jacksonville, like our homegirl, Lanice, she's an Eagles fan. She came after me when I clowned the Eagles, the Jaguars hiring Doug Peterson. He did have a winning record, finished with winning record in Philly. And
because that 13-3 record.
Well, that too.
My God.
Yeah, that too. That's the outlier, right? That pushes the weight of it up. But anywho, I think he'll be Jacksonville's first legit coach in a while, right?
Okay.
A made man with Super Bowl ring. He knows what the hell he's doing offensively. He's not a tomato can. That's what I'm trying to say. I do agree with that. I'm just saying that if it was true what the reports are saying, that Byron Leftwich was all but assured of a job with the Jaguars, because that's home plate. He was drafted by that organization, had some good years as a starting quarterback there.
Sure did, yeah.
So that would have been almost a perfect storyline, him coming back home to help tutor Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
It's just that the stipulation of if this was, again, what's out there is true, that they had to kick Trent Baalke, who doesn't have the greatest track record of the world as a GM. He ran off Jim Harbaugh from San Francisco.
That's right.
He ran him off.
We were trying to figure out what Baalke's discrepancy was last night. And we thought it was him who ran off the players a few years back from Jacksonville. No, that was the other GM before him.
That was Tom Coughlin. That was Tom Coughlin.
It was Coughlin, and that other GM that was there too.
Right.
But Baalke was responsible for Jim Harbaugh. Wow.
He ran him off. He ran off Jim Harbaugh. And I know that Jim Harbaugh is not the greatest dude to get along to play in the sandbox with. He's not the easiest dude to get along with, but the man could coach. And Baalke ran him off. And he also worked in concert with the previous supposed coach Urban Meyer. He did coordinate his draft picks with them.
Well,
he did sign off with bringing in Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
So I mean, for a triad at a position never played before in his life, a tight end. So he was part of the Klown show too. So he doesn't have the best track record of the world. So I mean, for him for Jacksonville to keep Baalke, I'm kind of glad that Leftwich is not there, because that's a dumpster fire.
I was hoping he would come in with that offensive mind that he has, and turn around that Jacksonville offense and make them competitive again in a division. You know, that with a good enough run is winnable. Right. I mean, they would have to dethrone the Tennessee Titans.
They have the easier path to do it, though. They have the easier path to do it.
They do have the easier path out of the other divisions in the AFC.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that would be the case.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand why Byron doesn't want to go. If he feels as though that he's not going to be able to be successful by bringing in veteran talent to come in and play with these young guys that they currently have.
And a better GM.
What is he there for?
And a better GM. Yeah. Another GM. Which is what a lot of coaches want. But to see that, and again, I get him not going, again, Jacksonville's a dumpster fire. Would have been a great storyline, him going back home, but it was a dumpster fire. But it's a dumpster fire. And then to have what happened in Minnesota, what happened, especially, I mean, I was at first mad about what happened with the Giants, who only had a small handful of black coordinators in his 90-plus year history. And even less black QBs. Someone brought that to my attention during the season. I was like, dude, you're right. I can probably think of maybe 2 black QBs that team has had in its entire lifetime. So that's one of those organizations that no one talks about that has had a lack of black leadership there within that organization. Yes, and you know, then bringing in Brian Dable from Buffalo. Look, at first I was like, come on, really? Then I connected the dots. The GM that they newly hired is from Buffalo.
It's from Buffalo,
and he's taking his guys, one of the guys who he knows well from Buffalo. The same guy who turned Josh Allen to a stud. Hoping they could do the same for Daniel Jones of University. So I get that hire too. Frustrating, yes, but I get it. Connections, relationships, and for offensive reasons, I get it, okay? But what really pisses me off was what happened with the Raiders. You bring in a guy, Josh McDaniels, who got fired from Denver for cheating, okay? Then he gets hired a few years later by the Colts, only for him to tuck tail, speaks them out in a fax or email. Didn't even bother to show up and tell them in person. How do you get him a job? How does he get a job? A third opportunity. Essentially a third opportunity. I thought his coaching career was over.
You know how he gets
England.
another opportunity?
Huh?
You know how he gets an opportunity? Them shiny things on his fingers. All them shiny things. And as bad as it is, and as unsuccessful as Belichick assistants have been in this league, people still want to try to tap that mind to hope and see if they can get some gold. But so it's as sad as it is.
He quit on the team and cheated his way out of another team. How does he get a third opportunity? Come on. Do you know any brother who gets cheated? He cheats his way out of one job, backs out of another one in very embarrassing fashion. How many brothers get the opportunity? Hell, how many brothers get opportunity after cheating his way out of the first opportunity?
Scott, how many brothers get another opportunity after being successful where they were? You're looking at Brian Flores and Jim Caldwell, whose final seasons they had 9 wins and got canned. You're looking at Lovie Smith, whose final season in Chicago was a 10-win season. Got canned.
But shout out to him for being the only brother to have not one but 2 but 3 opportunities.
I know, right? So I applaud him for being able to do that at least. And he was one of those guys who were constantly in that carousel of Rooney Rule hires, Rooney Rule interviewees to get looked at. But if it wasn't for the fact that he already had a job in-house with the Houston Texans, it might not have worked out for his favor either. But I will say this, right? The same situation as it pertains to HBCU athletes making it to the NFL is the exact same thing that it does with Black coaches, getting the opportunity to become head coaches on the NFL level. You're going to need the decision makers, primarily the owners, to have better relationships with these Black assistants than what they currently do.
It's not just the GMs, to your point. It's not just the GMs. It's not just the presidents of football ops, because you got a lot of them in those roles, a lot of us in those roles now too.
Yeah, right. You're starting to get more of us in those roles, even though, there's still only, 7 Black GMs in the league. And even some of them didn't necessarily get an opportunity to hire their head coaches. But it's going to have to be a situation where the decision makers are in situations where they're capable of trusting these Black athletes and Black coaches to lead their teams. And until that happens, this is what we're going to continue to get. It is extremely difficult to tell a billionaire how to run his company.
Exactly.
Right? Well, what to do.
What to do, period. You can't tell a billionaire what to do. That's not going to happen. That's what Roger Goodell, that's his problem right now. Roger Goodell appears to really want diverse hiring. He appears to be on the bandwagon. He appears to be preaching to this choir right here. So he's appearing to do those things. It's just, to your point, he works for the owners.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, right, with Roger Goodell, is that he plays good cop, bad cop very well. By himself.
Right.
Where certain times, he'll be bad cop and do those things where we moan and groan and like, yo, what are you doing?
Right.
And then there are instances where he'll try to play good cop and be like, oh my God, he's actually looking out for those who aren't actually NFL owners.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, he still has the owner's well-being in mind when he's making those decisions too.
Right.
So he's not necessarily above that, but it's to his best interest to, on the surface, at least appear as though that he wants to see more diversity hires within the NFL when it pertains to their coaching and their front office positions. But will it happen? Those owners got to get more comfortable.
Yeah, and that's the thing, bro. I mean, that's exactly it. Is that will they have the opportunity?
Yeah.
Will they? That's the thing. Will they even have the opportunity? Which, I mean, and we'll just list thing we say before we head out to the NBA. But Byron Allen is rumored to be in the running by the Denver Broncos.
Oh.
Now, I know before it was that Smith brother, the entrepreneur. I think he was trying to buy the Broncos as well. So, and the Broncos are going to be worth a lot of money because they're one of those benchmark franchises, hallmark franchises.
Yeah.
You know, so they're going to be going for this valued at $3.5 billion. It's probably going to be going for $4 billion. So we'll see. But I mean, for the NFL to have a chance to have one of us at least in the room to finally hear things from our perspective. I've heard Brian Allen on the Breakfast Club before. He seems to be very well in tune now. What's going on with us? He's very much in tune. So it's going to be interesting to see. And talking about self-made too, from a teenage comedian to the Brian Allen show.
My God.
Talk about up for your own bootstraps, as they like to say. So he gets it. So I'm just hoping that between him and the Smith brothers, who's also an alpha, by the way, if either one of them or whoever the ownership groups are out there, I'm hoping that if we get some representation in the owner's room, I think that will help a lot too, especially with Byron out. So
most definitely,
given his background. So, well, we're going to get something to keep an eye out on, but let's wish him the best in his endeavor. But yeah. Let's move it to the NBA right quick. The trade deadline is tomorrow by 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, you know, the two main names right now, there's some moves made, like Joe Ingles been shipped to Portland. Sabonis, the Sabonis kid was shipped out to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Karis LeVert is going somewhere. I forgot where he went.
God, I forgot.
I got to look it up later as you talk. Okay. But the two main names who are yet to be moved, which I think will be moved, at least one of them, if he gets his way, are Ben Simmons from Philly and James Harden from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I think the Brooklyn Nets have been stubborn to this point, but I think they have to make a move because here's what they did. They give 3 first-round picks for this team, right? And, of course, 2 viable pieces in Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. You think that Brooklyn wants Jared Allen back right now, about now, and Karis LeVert? Especially Jared Allen,
I am going to say yes.
Who's balling out of control in Cleveland right now? And Cleveland is what, the 3rd or 4th or in the Eastern Conference right now?
Oh, they're most definitely balling right now. Yes,
they are balling. Shout out to, I think, Bickerstaff is a coach, right? JB Bickerstaff.
I think so.
So shout out to him. But man, talk about a dumpster fire. I mean, I guess the word of the night is dumpster fire. I mean, here I was, this envious Knicks fan, thinking, damn, Brooklyn's making all these moves, and what are we doing? And to the point where they're the bigger circus than we are. We've been used to be in the circus, but they're the bigger circus right now with Kyrie being a part-time player because the ass don't want to be vaccinated, which has ruined team chemistry. And between all that and Kevin Durant being out with a knee injury for the next, 3 or 4 weeks? Yeah. And the Nets have lost 9 straight. So you mean to tell me they're going to continue to mire in a toxic situation just out of pride because James Harden wants out and he's tired of the toxicity? He's tired of Kyrie being a part-time player and having to do all that himself. He's not in the best of shape either.
No.
And he's not playing tonight. So since he's not playing, I guess, again, conspiracy theory, he's a healthy scratch. He could be on the move. But to hear Brian Windhorst for ESPN tell it, he's been, quote, screaming for a trade. That's a quote, screaming for a trade to be out. I mean, he's not happy in Brooklyn. He's going to be a free agent after the season anyway. So if you're Brooklyn, are you willing to hold on to him and lose him for nothing? Are you going to be that stupid?
It looks like that's what it appears to be as of right now, right? I mean,
God.
Unless they're capable of dealing him by tomorrow at 3 p.m., that's exactly what it's looking like. And who's the scapegoat in this situation then? Who gets the blame for this? And It's already weird enough that you've had this team blown up its young talent to bring in these three superstars, only for it not to work out.
Right. For
whatever reason, be it injury or, God, I don't want to necessarily call it selfishness out of Kyrie.
Oh, Scott, that's what I'm going to call it, plain selfishness. Every team, every member of that team in Brooklyn got vaccinated but his ass.
But him, yeah.
And he's making a big deal of it, and that's what's fucking up their season. He's the culprit. To quiet his cap, they should be trying to trade him and trying to talk Harden to stay. Except that Harden is probably so fed up at this point for the Nets kowtowing to Kyrie, because look, they were a mesh unit, which is what led Booker to a corner and said, okay, Kyrie, you win. That's what there was the beginning. Even before the season, when Kyrie refused to get vaccinated, they were still playing great ball. Him and Harden and KD, but KD got hurt. Then they let what's his name come back. Kyrie Irving come back to be a part-time player. I'm like, it's over. They gave in to him.
Mm-hmm.
After talking all that stuff, and rightfully so that they weren't going to do it, they gave in to him.
Yeah.
So, but then again, if you are the teams, you're like, do you really want to take on the headache that's Kyrie Irving?
No, I wouldn't.
So,
I don't care how good he is. I wouldn't take it on, because every situation where he's gone, right?
Yeah.
You would think on the surface, it's a pretty good situation. But, for whatever reason, he just didn't like it there. He's playing with LeBron, doesn't like it there. Wants to go someplace else, be his own guy. Goes to Boston.
Yeah,
ends up with other talented young guards there.
He screwed Boston up, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't like being there. Remember the night he returned to Boston last year with the sage, trying to clean the bad spirits out?
Yeah.
I thought that was laughable. Then he comes to Brooklyn, the spot that he picked.
Yeah.
And now he ain't happy again. So, oh my God.
They've lost 9 in a row, bro.
Yeah.
They're out there playing. They're in the play-in.
They're in the play-in situation right now. Yeah.
It's a cotton picking shame. I believe it's going to be a lot of change in the offseason.
Has to be. It has to be. And it was interesting that they went ahead and they tried to pull a LA Rams situation by putting all their chips in that big three. And
it blew up on them.
It blew up on them because, again, like I said, for whatever reason, it was rare that you can get all three of those guys on the floor at the same time.
Right.
And now, what do you do? What do you do?
Right.
But, oh, my God, they had a situation where they were developing young guys, and I really thought that young group that they had, along with a healthy Kevin Durant, because the time that they signed him, he still wasn't 100%.
Right.
And wasn't back yet, and they were just waiting for him to come back. That team was developing. They would learn to play together and play well together.
Yeah.
And not only do they get rid of those players, they get rid of the young coach.
Yeah. Sure did. How's Steve Nash working out for you fellas?
Exactly, right? So, if anything, the owner and the GM have nobody but to blame but themselves in this situation. And it looks like it's going to be a situation where they're going to have to probably start from scratch. Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen. And it's going to, I think the big three is going to go down to the big one at the end.
The question. And even if it is KD, God, how healthy will he be for the rest of his time there in Brooklyn?
I think he might just shut it down. If the Brooklyn still free falls, I think he just shuts it down for the year. So, because why is he coming back to?
Exactly.
Where's he coming back to? If they're in what? I'm on my phone right now. They're in the 8th spot in the East. So you mean to tell me you'll be playing? First of all, they'll be playing against the Celtics in the playing game, and who's 7th and is on a roll. They beat the Celtics. The Celtics beat them by over 30 the other night. And they're just playing. They're playing much better. Boston's won 6 in a row. Toronto's won 6 in a row. They're right above Boston in the 6th spot. I mean, do you think Brooklyn? Look, look, there's no powerhouses in the Eastern Conference. The East is wide ass open, right?
It's very wide open. Yeah.
I mean, with Miami's playing good ball, great ball at the top spot. Milwaukee's playing great ball right now again. They're getting healthier.
Mhm.
But outside of Milwaukee, I take a healthy Brooklyn team over Cleveland, over Chicago. Philly is a toss-up, and over Toronto and Boston. And maybe Miami too. Miami will give Miami fits. But even then, I think the atmospheres will be so toxic. It's like, I think Kevin Durant's gonna look at this and say, why?
He's stuck there for another 2 or
to?
3 seasons.
It's like why? Why am I coming back?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It remains to be seen, but I think Philly, I think both Brooklyn and Philly need to stop tripping, and just trade those two guys, the two Malconters. Philly needs to get off of Ben Simmons, Daryl Morey, the VP of Basketball Operations, and Elton Brand, the GM. More so Morey needs to just stop being stupid and get what you can for Ben Simmons. I know Ben Simmons signed a huge extension. He has 3 or 4 more years on it. But why waste Joel Embiid's prime years? Why waste this year? I mean, the East again, 4.5 games separates the top spot from the 6th seed right now. And Philly's in the 5th seed.
Yeah.
It's only 2.5 games behind Miami for the top seed. And they're playing well. Why, if you're Morey, why be stubborn and stupid and prideful and waste Joel Embiid's year like this? You don't have to get a superstar because teams know you're trying to, not only trying to unload Simmons, but Simmons doesn't want to be there anymore.
Be there, yeah.
So you're over barrel. Just get what you can. Get some good players. You don't have to get a superstar. It'd be nice to get a superstar for him, a la James Harden or Damian Lillard, I dare say, from Portland, but get some parts around Embiid at this point. Serviceable parts, good parts, because you're going to waste in the season. And if I'm Brooklyn, just trade James Harden because you're not going to get nothing for him once he leaves.
But I have to ask this, Scott. What's Portland doing? They're saying that they're trying to rebuild around Dame Lillard.
They rebuilt him for real because they got rid of C.J. McCollum, his boy.
Yeah, you get rid of C.J. McCollum, you get rid of Norman Powell, you get rid of Robert Covington.
Yeah.
How are you trying to rebuild around this dude, and how quick of a reinvestment are you looking to get? Because let's face it, Dame is not a rookie anymore. Dame's been in the league for a minute right now. And how open do you think his window is in Portland right now? And how quickly would you be capable of rebuilding rebuilding around this dude? Excuse me.
Sure.
Because based upon what we've seen from you in the past, what you tried to build around the zoo before ain't work.
Right.
So how are we to trust that what you're doing right now is going to work?
Right.
Excuse me. I understand it's a new head coach. And I guess all we can do is wait and see exactly how that pans out. Right. But I'm finding this to be a head scratcher right now.
Yeah, I think Dame's gonna be traded in the offseason at least. I don't think Dame wants to be around. He's very loyal. But he has to look around and be like, what am I doing here? All these things getting better and everything else. But what are we doing? We traded away my boy, my second in command, if you will, and all these other players you mentioned. And to be mired in 10th place?
Yeah.
Beyond 10th place at this point, what are we doing?
And they keep saying that they're doing this for him. How, Sway?
How? They're not. They're in a lovely spot right now. So yeah, I think Dame's gonna be like, look, fuck it. I want out. I'm not gonna report until you get me out of here.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna happen in the offseason. But anyway, we're gonna close the show out on this. So HBCU Sports. Yes. But this is one thing that's going on with Jackson State. I mean, look, they're on a high. right? Bringing in all these blue chippers. They have the 60th, I think, lower than that. I think they're above the 60th now. I think they're like 50 some odd highest recruiting class in the nation.
In the nation again. They're doing it again. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and ESPN, they were ESPN's top 100 in terms of like recruiting. So, and then again, the FCS program, let alone HBCU program, in the top 60 in recruiting, national recruiting amongst the blue bloods of college football, rather, which is out recruiting the group of five, most of the group of five, except for Cincinnati and Houston, and I think BYU as well. And well, BYU is not really a group of five anymore; they're an independent. But anyway,
yeah.
But actually, Houston, UCF, Central Florida, and Cincinnati are the only three group of five squads in the top 60. And again, Jackson State's among that top 60 in terms of recruiting class ratings. So they're on as high, right? But what they've been doing lately to celebrate that high recruiting, they put their schedule out, right? And
yes.
They apparently they backed out of a classic against Tennessee State, which the people at Tennessee State are still pissed off about, and rightfully so.
Yes, the Southern Heritage Classic. Yes,
Southern Heritage
Nashville.
Classic. Yeah, they're still pissed that they backed out of that, they being Jackson State. And they replaced them apparently with Lane College. Not to make fun of Lane College, but they're SIAC school, but they're Division II. So you trade out a Division I FCS, which would have been big time on the schedule, to that. And apparently they're making another move to downgrade the schedule to the Allen Conference schedule is ass.
It is, right?
Yeah.
But to come to their defense, right?
Okay.
Here I come, Jackson State, to defend you for once. As you can see, I got my head in my hand while I'm doing so.
Right. The best you can, brother.
So they're not necessarily, it's not an even swap where they're playing Lane the same day that they were supposed to have played against Tennessee State.
Okay.
The game that takes its spot is a new SWAC challenge that they currently have within the conference, where they'll be facing Alabama A&M that weekend, I think it is.
Okay.
On the weekend of the 10th of September. So, and it's going to be a game that they currently are going to have in Birmingham, Alabama. So that's why I'm like, okay, this is the game that they were actually replacing with the Southern Heritage Classic. So to their defense, I'm sorry, it's UAPB, it's Arkansas Pine Bluff, is who they have on the 10th. And they actually played Lane for homecoming, my God, which should be a beatdown, on December 10th. I'm sorry, not December 10th, on December 1st.
Okay.
So yeah, they should beat the brakes off of Lane on the 1st. But yeah, that game legit takes the place, well, that game against Arkansas Pine Bluff, which is being called, let me make sure I get this name correct again. If we can get this website to hurry up, please, with the loading. That's not what we're going to do. We're not going to do that right now. Okay,
yeah, probably because you got something to do. When you got things to do,
I know when you got things to do, you know, exactly, right? So yeah, whatever that sweat challenge is called, it's like a 3-year deal that they currently have, where they play UAPB twice, and I think Southern once. Now, so like I said, to correct you, it's not an even swap, you know, team for team, day for day. It's just out of conference team and out of conference team, and that date is for them against Lane will be held on their homecoming.
Got it.
And according to at first, you know, of course, Dion came out, or Coach Sanders came out and said that, you know, I don't have the power to make this decision. You got to talk to our athletics director, and you got to talk to the commissioner of the conference, because of course this series that they got going on in Birmingham is one within the conference, even though Jackson State is the primary team in that classic. Now, it also came out that this was all done because of money.
Yeah. And
I forget what this actually this comes from the Undefeated. It says a source
shout out to the
them,
Undefeated.
Yeah, shout out to the undefeated. Sometimes, they get it right. Sometimes I question, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
At least they out here covering the culture, and I applaud them for that.
Right.
A source said Jackson State has made about $6.3 million from the Southern Heritage Classic in the 28 years. In the 28 years of participating in the game. So that's $6.3 million in 28 years. It is expected to earn about $3 million for the first 2 games in Birmingham.
Wow.
So it all comes down to the money. It says it's a game we're playing in Alabama. Everything is paid, says Sanders. And the check is cut before we even get there. Instead of just playing games, we're doing business now. End quote from Coach Sanders.
There you go.
So yes, this is a move made out of business sense, and I get it. Do I like the way in which it was handled? No, because it was done from out of nowhere and almost last minute, because of course at this point in time, teams are scheduling their opponents.
Correct.
And schedules are starting to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a last minute decision. The SWAC actually made that decision a few weeks ago that they were going to have this classic. And my guess is that they've gone on to decide to have it during that week that they would traditionally have the Southern Heritage Classic, thus knocking them out of that game. Disappointing for the fans that normally would go, because they would average about slightly under 50,000 per game throughout the history of that game.
Right.
And there has been some negative rumblings from the signing of this deal with this new game that they got currently going on within the SWAC fan base. But as they should, the Jackson State alums and their fan base is defending this move, and I'm defending it to a point. I just don't like the timing of it, and the fact that Tennessee State had to deal with it the way that they had to deal with it in that short amount of time as they dealt with it without any full, real answers until now. But you brought up the point of the out-of-conference schedule. We kind of touched on this a few weeks ago about how badly the SWAC has competed against FBS opponents. Make sure I said it right that time, right?
There you go.
But at the same time, and I'm not doing this on purpose. It just happens to be part of the conversation. This is very organic. It was very ironic that gentleman, and I hate to have to bring him up again, when he pointed out the fact that Northwestern State was a team, it was an FCS opponent that Grambling beat, out of conference FCS opponent that Grambling beat a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They should have beaten them, because around the time in which they defeated them, Northwestern State was barely winning games. The most that they had ever won, like during that time frame, was about 4 wins. And matter of fact, the year that they beat them, Grambling lost to Northwestern State the following season. Yes, matter of fact, the year that Grambling beat them, they won 1 game. So yes, Grambling was supposed to be a 1-win FCS opponent, as I would hope every HBCU would do that. I understand it doesn't happen often, but what I'm gonna need you not to do, especially in a season which, if it was the 2016 season that they won that game, the year in which they went to the Celebration Bowl, I'm gonna need you not to beat your chest for beating a team that bad. And yes, SWAC teams in order. And I shout out to Stephen Gaither. He pointed this out recently, and I know my homies that I chat with in my Facebook group said it as well. If our HBCU football programs want to be taken seriously, they're going to have to schedule, and not just taken seriously by HBCU fans, but taken seriously by other college football fans and other college football reporters that cover the sport.
Right.
If they want to be taken seriously, not only will they have to schedule tougher OOC opponents, they're going to have to beat them too.
Right.
Until you do that, you're looked at as currently what you're looked at, but at the same time, I don't blame you, because you're not necessarily fighting for a playoff spot. You're fighting to compete in the Celebration Bowl
right.
and win your SWAC championship
That's
and
an
make
end game.
that dough.
Yeah.
Yes, right. That's your end game. So if you're chasing your end game, chase your end game. I'm not mad at you for that.
Right.
But what you can't do is come out and say that you're one of the best teams in FCS when you're not proving it on the field. I don't care what your record is.
Correct.
I don't.
You gotta play up to your weight, schedule up to your weight class.
Exactly.
A little bit above,
yeah. So this move for them to not play in the Southern Heritage Classic, oddly enough, and this is something you don't necessarily see out of HBCUs often because a lot of times their fan base criticizes them for this, is that they decided to get rid of culture for the sake of the business of collegiate athletics.
Right.
And I applaud them for that. But, I just wish they would have done it better.
Right. And understood. Totally understood. So are there any other, I just wish that, to your point, I mean, I was about talking about schedule, but to your point, it's a different end game with like HBCUs because let's face it. The Celebration Bowl, that's the cash cow right now.
It is.
Why would you want to give up to go to compete in the playoffs where you explained it a few weeks ago, where they had all those FCS squads had to pay their own way. So why would you give that up? Why give a sure golden goose for that, for the playoff right now?
Yeah, the only reason why you do that is because you want to be considered to be one of the best within FCS football. That's the only way that you do that right now. Right. And as of the way things are looking, not only for the SWAC, but for HBCUs as a whole, they're going to have to continue to do whatever they can in order to generate revenue. And one of the ways that they do that, of course, is through the Celebration Bowl. Right. So again, until we can do better, HBCU alums, in terms of giving back to our institutions, so they don't necessarily have to continue to fight for these money games, is to give back. But at the same time, these institutions and these conferences are going to have to continue to do their job to make sure that they get boosters, and especially these businesses, to continue to give back. See, look at this. Where is this? Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. They beat, it was 2017. So the year in which this gentleman was talking about Grambling beating Northwestern State was 2017, in a year in which they lost to A&T in the Celebration Bowl. In that year, Northwestern State, if memory serves me correctly, probably only won one game that year. Let me look at it. No, I'm sorry. Wrong. They won 4 games that year, only to lose to Northwestern State the following year in 2018. Okay. So way to bring up that wonderful FCS win against Northwestern State, young man. The tip of the cap to you. Another reason why, I try to leave this boy alone, but it just keeps coming back. But so other news that's going on, again, of course, I got to shout them out. I'm wearing the hoodie. A&T men's track team, once again, last week we didn't get a chance to talk about it. They were the number 1 ranked men's indoor track team in Division I athletics. They've dropped down to number 2, but they're still up there in that top 5. They've been in the top 5 all season long so far. The season's starting to slowly come to an end. I can't wait to see what they do at the end of the month and how they'll not only compete in the Big South Conference in indoor track season for the championship, but how they compete nationally. And they're on their path to potentially win a national championship there. Also, again, with North Carolina A&T, shout out to Sean Gibbs, well-known assistant coach there at North Carolina A&T, who decided to move on to future endeavors, and he will become, as a matter of fact, shout out to BlueDeathValley.com, the homie Samaj out there, Craig, good people's out there with BlueDeathValley.com. It was announced by them that Sean Gibbs will be leaving A&T and become the new head coach at Fort Valley State. The announcement will be made tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern time. I guess on their social media or on their website, and he will be taking linebackers coach and former Aggie football player as well, Denzel Jones, with him as his defensive coordinator. So you got Aggies on the move there in the football sense, and Sam Washington is going to have to regroup with that staff and refigure and get ready for the.
Yeah, bring me my money. Yeah.
Bring me my money and bring me some assistance, because he's going to
I
need
know,
some
right?
assistance there.
Exactly. Yeah.
To help this program rebound with this new class that they got in.
Right.
And then, of course, you had a couple of, college football all-star season is coming to an end. Last week we had the Reese's Senior Bowl, where we had a couple of HBCU players there. You had the East-West Shrine game, when you had about 5 guys there too. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have the very first HBCU Legacy Bowl, which is going to be an all-star game of MEAC and CIAA talent versus the SWAC and SEAC. So I'll go ahead and I will be releasing the list of players and the participants and the head coaches. Oddly enough, the head coaches for it's going to be Team Gaither versus Team Robinson. Team Gaither, if memory serves me correctly, is the MEAC CIAA squad, which is going to be led by my man Buddy Pugh, who is, of course, the head coach there at South Carolina State.
Yeah.
And Team Robinson is going to be led by, ironically enough, Florida A&M head coach Willie Jeffers. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Willie Simmons. I'm thinking about a whole different. Willie Jeffers is the former wide receiver with the Houston Oilers. So yeah, Willie Simmons is the head coach over there at Florida A&M. Sorry about that, Willie. Sorry about that, Rattler family. And yeah, I go making another mistake again. Yeah. So yeah, Willie Simmons, head coach of Team Robinson. Buddy Pugh, head coach of Team Gaither. And then, of course, the rosters, I'll be releasing all of those rosters and everything on my social media. So look out for that. And that game is not this weekend, of course, because it's the Super Bowl weekend.
Right.
It's the following weekend, and it's going to be on NFL Network.
Nice. Awesome. Change. Got an agent for change, man. I mean, as much as we promote Deion Sanders, I mean, he's helping, not doing it all, obviously, but he's helping about change, A
lot of the stuff that's going on. Oh, almost forgot.
Yes.
Also, that exact same weekend, because it's NBA All-Star weekend, right? Mm-hmm. You'll be having your first NBA HBCU Classic.
That's right.
That's going to be
awesome.
Howard and Morgan State playing in Cleveland next weekend. So shouts out to them. And my God, keep an eye out again on my social media. Blame this one to my head and not my heart. There's a gentleman that's with the Jamaican bobsled team.
Oh,
that is a Morgan State alum.
All right.
So shout out to him for making that team, and hopefully he does well over there in China. As a matter of fact, I think he might be the only HBCU athlete out there. He's the only one that I've heard of as of right now. I could be wrong, but that's the only guy that I can think of as of right now. Mm-hmm. So shout out to all of them. And I wish I could be talk a little bit more about basketball season, because we're in the final month of the regular season of collegiate basketball. But so much has been going on with college football, man, that I haven't been. And my head just keeps snapping back to see what's going on with football. But tournament time comes up at the end of the month, and I can't wait to see what goes on, especially coming up in Baltimore in a few weeks for the CIAA.
Hey, appreciate you nonetheless, man. Hey, that makes 2 of us, because I've been giving much a damn about college basketball as a whole right now. So because I've got mine's every other place right now, it doesn't help that some of these kids, unless you're willing to know, you hadn't really heard of or familiar with, because they're so young, right?
Yeah.
So it's that you get that going against them too, and COVID.
Yeah.
So takes away the excitement, but yeah, it remains to be seen. But I'm really looking forward to this weekend. And thank y'all for tuning in this podcast. I know y'all looking forward to this weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We're going to enjoy the Super Bowl, which should be a very competitive, hopefully, Super Bowl. Yeah. And we'll eat a lot of junk food. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be equivalent to 2 cheat days in one. And, but just anyway, stay safe, y'all. If you go into a big party, please take precautions, whether you're wearing a mask or just social distance the best you can. Stay vaccinated at the very least. And just be safe. Oh, yeah, please continue to like, share, comment. Don't forget the Wayne's Good Work, HBCU.com.